Alright, let's find out what we're talking about today. Chapman's points. Alright, so let's talk about Chapman's points. What are they? They are a neurolymphatic ganglioniform reaction that is not seen on histology. But they are super tender, non-radiating points that can help a physician make a diagnosis. Supposedly, they feel like little BB pellets under the skin. So you won't diagnose someone solely off this, but it will help you narrow your differential because they represent visceral dysfunction in predictable places. Now, we do need to know where they're located then. So I won't go into hyperspecifics because different sources seem to disagree slightly on exactly how many centimeters away from the transverse process these points can be, so we can make a crude map. Right. So I'm going to guide you through a nice chart that you could remember, or a nice map. Now, my computer froze the first time, so this is the second attempt, and I apologize for any sloppiness. First thing we're going to do is we're going to draw 10 horizontal lines, followed by 2. These are our ribs. I'm going to label them 1 through 12 in just a moment. Now, that's the belly button, the pelvis, and the legs, and those things are the arms on top. So let's talk about anterior Chapman's points first. Now, that squiggly line, by the way, at the top, that's our clavicle. Remember that it crosses the first rib. So the first point, right underneath the first rib, lateral to the sternum, which is our vertical line, we have our nose, the pharynx, larynx, and tongue. And so I'm using blue to show things that are bilateral, and I'm just placing dots on the right to show. Now, that weird looking thing was supposed to be a tonsil. That's an ear. And the ear is on the clavicle, where the clavicle crosses the first rib. And that's the eye Chapman point on the humerus. I try to draw a kettlebell for the tonsil, but it looks funky. Now, BET stands for bronchus, esophagus, and bronchus, esophagus, and thyroid. And there's a heart on the left. Right, always bet on your heart. These are unilateral. Now we've got our upper lung and our lower lung between 3 and 4. Those are the spaces in between the ribs. We have the liver is huge, so it takes up everything from 5 to 7, and the gallbladder is just under 6. And we have our stomach on the left side with acid at 5 and motility at 6. We have our pancreas on the right and the spleen on the left. And the small intestine points are more lateral at the costochondrial junction, going from duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Now we have our adrenals and our kidney, and that's the letter B right there in the middle for that belly button, for bladder. B for bladder, B for belly button. So I've got our points for ovaries and testes at the top of the pubis, as well as the urethra is there. At the bottom of the pubic symphysis, we have the uterus. I know you can't see on the screen. And kind of at the sides, we have the point for intestinal peristalsis. Now, on the posterior side of the iliotibial band, we have our prostate points that go in the line, and the colon on the anterior side. And the lesser tubercle, there's our point for the rectum. Now, the posterior points are super easy. They're pretty much in exactly the same place, just at the transverse, somewhere between the transverse and spinous processes, at the same levels, just on the back. There are some exceptions. For the head and neck, everything's at C2 except for those outliers, which I drew in pictures. Those are at C1. And the eye is actually not even at C1, it's at the squamous portion of the occiput below the superior nuchal line. The thyroid is in between T1 and T2. The ovary and testes are at T10. The appendix is at T11, not T12. That's, I forgot to mention, that star is at the tip of the 12th rib at the front. That's the appendix. The adrenals are T11 to T12. Now, peristalsis, I don't know where to put it in, but it's the rib 11. Notice how all of these still have a logical descending order, right? They're not they don't match up, but they still make sense anatomically. The kidneys at T12 to L1, the bladder's at L2. Sorry about that. That's not urethra, that's the bladder. Thinking about it, just cross it out. So the bladder's at L2, and the urethra is at L3. The prostate vagina, uterus, and broad ligaments of the uterus are all at L5. And the colon has posterior Chapman's points that make a triangle between L2 and L4. And that's it.